So I've let the lining dry overnight in place now, and it appears to have turned out pretty good. It is a nice firm seal in there. This pocket, if I'm being honest, is almost useless though. It's just so stiff you can hardly put your fingers into it. And in time that'll probably stretch out and be a little bit more functional. But, you know, you're not going to be able to put much in there, to be honest with you. But it was a good experiment. So now I'm at the point where I need to trim along this edge here, like so. And then I need to repunch these holes, because what happens is the glue gets up in these holes and fills them in, and you can't push a needle through it. That is the flaw with doing a lining. One of the problems, not a flaw, but a problem with doing a lining, is that it fills in the holes and then you have to repunch them. Now, I didn't do a perfect job, but it looks like it's held up. And so for the most part, there are areas where it didn't get all the way to the edge. It's not a perfect job by any stretch. Definitely, like, that area is pretty bad. That actually needs to be re-glued before I do anything else. I can't leave that like that. So unfortunately I can't proceed until I glue some of these areas a little bit better, and I'm gonna have to let it sit again. That's the thing when you're pouring a bunch of when you're covering an entire area like this with rubber cement, it's really easy to have a spot or two that didn't quite get it. So, but it's coming together. So I've got a few areas I got to fix with rubber cement and then set the project aside. And I'm just going to use Q-tips because they're very small areas and I don't want to waste a brush. So I'm just going to literally take my Q-tip, dip it in like so, and then smooth it on in there like so. Get it nice and wet down in that crack right there. Okay, toss the Q-tip and then just squeeze it back into place. So there's that one. I'm going to walk my fingers around and see if there's another spot that didn't quite get it done. There's a few that are really close and some more than others. You can clamp this if you want. Problem is my clamps are a little bit too strong. Now that would be a good clothespin, and I don't have any, unfortunately. I probably should for this kind of work. Okay, there's another spot there that needs a little bit. Just going to dip that's a smaller area, so just going to dip the Q-tip in, smooth it up in that little crack, toss it, and then just push it down in. When this rubber cement dries, you can always cut it off, if that makes sense. Oh yeah, we got a big area right there, all along that stretch there. I was afraid of that one. So I'm gonna have to smooth it in there. Try not to get it on your fingers or the front of the surface of this, like I just did right there. Yeah, that's pretty bad. Put a little bit more in there. And I'm going to take this Q-tip here and I'm going to wipe off the excess on the outer edge here. I don't want it all over my surface here. And squeeze it into place. So one thing nice about rubber cement is it actually holds pretty well, even, you know, just temporarily. I got a little bit on the outside, but when I redo that part, it'll be okay. And I got a little piece right here. that didn't get quite in. And I think that's it. I think I've gotten all the areas I need done. So I just have to let it dry again. That is the one thing I dislike about doing this kind of stuff, is just waiting for stuff to dry. Okay, so I'm ready now to cut the lining on this, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to replace this blade, because I want to make sure I have a nice sharp blade to do this with. A whole bunch of blades here I bought in quantity, which is a good way to go. Saves you a lot of money in the long run if you're going to do this on a regular basis. I just replaced the blade. Now I'll dispose of the old one. And I will now start to the task here. And it's pretty straightforward. I'm basically just going to follow along the edge here. Let me zoom in a little bit. I'll start off with this edge here. You'll see it's a little bit altered in shape. That's primarily because when you do the stitching, it tends to pull the leather one way. So I'm going to be very careful here. Just try to run right along that edge. So, check it, see how it looks. Looks pretty good. Looks like I got a little bit off right here, just a little bit. But you can fix it by just doing this if you want. You gotta have a sharp blade for this though. There we go. Okay. Looks like it's a little bit right there needs to be done. It's not as big of a deal in this section here because the sides are going to hide a lot of that. I'm more concerned about this area up here. Okay, so now I'm going to cut around the round here. Try to do it as seamless as you can, meaning that you do one nice swipe. Because if you don't, then you can run into problems like this. Hold this tight right here. Try not to cut your fingers. I'm doing a really bad job here. So I'll try this again. There we go. Check your thing here. Looks like I need to fix this part right here a little bit. Okay. And I got a little bit of a triangular edge here. You don't want a triangular edge. When you're doing the razor knife, draw this way. You draw towards this, not away from it. Because otherwise, if you're not careful, you can actually pull up the you can pull the lining up. You don't want to interfere with this lining. You want it to be nice and strong. Okay, so I got that edge. Now I'm going to do this edge. Okay. Looks like there's a good clean swipe, which is what I wanted. A little bit of a corner. Got to be careful with square corners like that, because they're almost like flaps just waiting to be pulled up. So I'm going to try to round off that edge just a little bit, just to make sure. Okay. Okay. I'm ready to do this other edge. Okay. Oop, I screwed up a little bit there. It's really easy to do when you're using a razor blade. Right here, I cut into this a little bit, so I can re-dye that, and it'll be okay. But I'll wait. So there you have it. That's cutting the edges of the lining material. Let me zoom out just a little bit. So now I've got the edges cut. The next step is to make sure these holes. What happens sometimes when you glue a lining in is the glue gets into these holes and plugs them up. So they're no longer functioning holes now. So now I have to re-punch all of these holes. Okay, this next portion I'm going to do time lapse because it's not really necessary to do real time. All I'm doing is taking the awl and I'm punching it through all of these holes that were made on the outside of this in order to punch through the lining, as you can see. And also there's areas where the rubber cement have filled up the holes and made it so you can't push a needle through. So when you do a lining and you glue it in place, the holes that you made are going to have to be reopened with basically an awl. That's what I use. You don't need to re-stamp the holes with your stamping tool. Just a simple awl does the trick. And I'm going to do it in every single hole along the edge to make sure that I can push a needle through there. Pretty straightforward. And I'm doing it time lapse because, like I said, anybody can push a hole through with an awl. It's pretty straightforward. As you can see, it's coming together. I like the buttons on this. Eventually, when I'm finished doing all of these videos for this project, I'm going to do a video on how to actually take everything that has been done and turn it into a pattern. Because it's part of what my videos are all about, is how do you build a prototype for a leather project and then produce a pattern from it that you can use over and over again. Essentially, that's what my videos are. They're videos on how to do pattern drafting. So if you want to make your own patterns, then these are the videos for you. If you just want to take a pattern and make whatever, then you can do that as well. I'm going to make these patterns available once all these videos are done. So there you go. I'm just about finished there.